Coming up on show 746, the BMW 7 Series Electric, look, let's call it the i7, could have a 120 kilowatt-hour battery. Stick around, I'll tell you more. Plus, we're talking about a hot plug-in hybrid from VW, the T-Roc GTE. Gigafactory Shanghai is going great guns. What about Giga Berlin? Hit a bit of a bump in the road. Lordstown Motors are in the news today as well, and we'll read out your answers to Question of the Week. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. In fact, wherever you're listening around the world, welcome to EV News Daily, the edition for what happened on Sunday, 12th of April. My name is Martyn Lee, and I go through every EV story, so you don't have to. Thank you as always to everyone who supports on Patreon, those at $10 and above. Every month I'll read out your names at the end as we do on Sundays. So when BMW announced the beefiest version of the next Gen 7 series and the fact that it's going to have a zero emissions option, it didn't actually disclose at the time any details about the power delivered by its electric motors. Now over at BMWBLOG, they claim to be in the know about the 7 Series Electric. Let's call it the i7, should we? Because let's face it, it's probably going to be called the i7. Well, the rumours are that it could be called the MI7, I guess for M Series BMW, or the i7 M60. Either way, let's call it the i7. It's going to be the range topper. It's the 7 Series, and it's going to have 2 electric motors, 4-wheel drive, 1 on each axle, output of over 650 horsepower, and that is even more powerful than the fossil-gobbling version. The report goes on to mention that the 7 Series will have a large battery pack, over 100 kilowatt hours. They want to hit 400 miles of range on this. Of course, it's a big car to work with, and even in combustion form, it's a big, heavy car. So they've got some room to play with. It won't be the only M Performance version, though, because it's also going to have a plug-in hybrid model, tentatively called the M750E, with the E standing for electric, and it's going to have a plug socket. That would have a turbocharged straight-six 3-litre and an electric motor. But it doesn't always work that way with big luxury cars to their benefit, as I'll talk to you soon on a future edition of the podcast about the Bentley Bentayga, which hasn't been a resounding success, but that's for another day. The electric derivatives are going to have some stiff competition, aren't they? When you think about it, Porsche Taycan is out there. Model S is out there. Audi E-Tron GT is surely on the shopping list of 7 Series buyers. Jaguar XJ isn't here yet, but it's going to be, and it's going to be electric. Mercedes EQS, that is direct competition. S-Class, 7 Series, yeah. That bit of the market, look, I'm not swimming in that pool. I'm not going to be spending hundreds of thousands of pounds on a luxury car. I barely go anywhere to warrant having a small car, but anyway, for those that are, surely that shopping list just got a little bit longer. Inside EVs has more info on the pack sizes, actually. Regarding the i7, there will apparently be at least 2 variants. One, an 80 kilowatt-hour battery pack. The other, a 120 kilowatt-hour battery pack, which would, if it were on the market today, if it were on sale today, would be the biggest battery pack that you could buy in a mainstream car on the market. However, bigger battery packs are coming. Tesla with bigger battery packs. Rivian, for instance, and more. So by the time it hits the market, 120 kilowatt hours won't be headline grabbing. It'll be very nice, though. Long wheelbase models as well are going to be on the way. And of course, that makes more room for bigger battery packs. Let's talk about something smaller, but rapid, and a hot plug-in hybrid from Volkswagen. The T-Roc range could well be boosted and bolstered by a high-performance version. And how do you make a car better? You add some electrons. That's right, a GTE version. There's obviously the Golf GTE. There's the Passat GTE. Nice cars, by the way. If you don't want a full electric car, and, you know, for anyone that's on the fence, go for it. It's fine. However, for those that don't want a full electric car, the GTE powertrain, drivetrain from VW is really clever. It gives you the maximum kick up the backside when you want it. It can drive on all electric. It's very efficient. It's good fun. And in the Golf and the Passat, it seems to work all right, so why not put it in other cars, like the T-Roc? Well, of course, that would make it a little bit quicker. In a press conference, says Auto Express, on a press conference call, as they are these days in the world of COVID-19, if the performance plug-in hybrid of the T-Roc would be a good fit into the lineup, VW's project manager for electrified drivetrains is Dr. Kai Philip, and Dr. Kai Philip said, and I quote, "Our MQB technology gives us the possibility to do so," end quote. So not a denial, and if a car maker doesn't deny something, probably on the cards. Power comes from the petrol-electric powertrain, which across the GTE range, and even if you look at the plugins that are coming from the likes of Skoda with the Superb, that's going to have the same as it's not going to be called GTE, but it uses the Passat GTE gubbins inside. And so with this, by the way, 1.4, and the MO that Volkswagen are going with is this 1.4 litre turbocharged petrol engine, plus electric motor and 242 brake horsepower. And the GTE would also be more efficient. Battery size 13 kilowatt hour, and that is giving an all-electric range of 30 plus miles. Now, the article on Auto Express says 40 miles of EV range. I think that is a little bit optimistic, but I'll put a link in the show notes to that article if you'd like to read more for yourself. Well, after the quick pace of work at Tesla's Gigafactory 4, Giga Berlin, still getting used to calling it its new name, just outside of Berlin. Quite a long way outside of Berlin, actually. The activity now is frozen. Sadly, you won't be surprised to hear that. Some were saying that Tesla was waiting for a permit, but the latest reports indicate the company is actually revising their plans, their construction plans. According to Inside EVs, Tesla previously completed clearing a tree farm and a ground levelling project. The next stage is the foundations, but they are postponed for now, says Talk News. We just got breaking news from Tesla Giga in Berlin, the public radio station reporting they're going back to the planning stages and approval documents on some more points in response to some local residents' criticisms actually about water use. Tesla have announced that the factory is now going to use less water than the original plans, and so they're resubmitting those and getting it all back into the planning books. It doesn't say, by the way, that construction is delayed because of coronavirus, and I know that certainly here construction has continued. Some countries that do have lockdown, and we have lockdown, by the way, we're all staying at home, but construction work is allowed. Other countries that have done maybe what's happening where you are, construction has also been stopped, and so different ways of doing it, I guess. But I don't know whether Germany still allows production or not, but if they do, I'm sure that they would be working on Giga Berlin if they could do. Well, moving on. Several automakers like Ford and Tesla are launching their own pickup trucks, but the startup company Lordstown Motors is going to have something that sets their pickup truck apart. It's called the Endurance in-wheel motors. The new video that hit the internet has shown one of the in-wheel motors in action, says Motor Authority. Mounting the motors inside the wheel hub actually frees up space, and it offers the potential to more precisely control how much torque arrives at each wheel. If you have a hub motor on each wheel, torque can be added by adjusting the amount of current going to the motor rather than using things like clutch packs and diffs and braking to slow wheels down. Lordstown says the Endurance has a base price of $52,500. Okay, $52,500. Okay, not crazy. A $1,000 deposit, which is refundable, will get you an early build slot. In comparison, Cybertruck, when it arrives, starts from $39,900. Lordstown said it will start deliveries by the end of the year. They're also targeting commercial fleets, while others, like the Cybertruck, really targeting individual retail buyers. And then you've got Rivian in the middle, kind of doing both. Rivian will sell to the public, but also they've got those big deals with Ford and Amazon. Okay, looking at the truck market, Lordstown, Cybertruck, Rivian, Ford F-150 is going all electric and plug-in. Hummer as well. Don't discount the Hummer. They'll spend some money on that. Bollinger, that's another one. Have I missed any? It's getting exciting, right? I'm getting excited about that bit of the market. I don't need to buy one of those vehicles. I've got no use for it. However, I haven't got the space for it either. However, if it's up your street, that's exciting, right? If you've been holding back on buying an EV because you can't get a vehicle like a Cybertruck, Rivian, Ford F-Series, look, it's all coming and it's looking good. Talking of things coming, how quickly can you get a car? Well, some new data has been revealed for how long you have to wait to get an EV. Okay, this is UK specific, but wherever you're listening, this is interesting. The average wait time on EVs has significantly dropped over the last 12 months, with the majority of new EVs now available within 12 weeks, according to What Car Magazine's analysis of 26 EVs currently on sale. It says What Car, last year lead times for some were more than 12 months, and it made it nigh on impossible for buyers to commit to purchasing one. The Kia e-Niro was the What Car Car of the Year and had a 12-month waiting list. So if you wanted to buy the Car of the Year last year, you couldn't buy it in that year. As a result, as a result of increased production, the lead time has now gone down to 26 weeks. It's halved. And the longest wait on the whole list was actually, any guesses? The car that you have to wait for the longest? Well, that would be the Porsche Taycan. 36 weeks, by the way. Seat Me electric. Long time. I mean, at the minute, you can't get one because they've sold out, whatever sold out really means. There was 300 plus here for the UK. They all sold out in like 6 weeks. Amazing. Awesome. Little tiny city cars. Brilliant. But sold out. Well, they can make more. I know that. In other words, ordering currently paused online. Let's have a look then. Let's have a look. The Renault Zoe, is between 1 and 12 weeks, according to what spec you want. The Audi E-Tron, 12 weeks. The BMW i3, 20 weeks wait. The Ioniq, 18 weeks. Same for the Kona, actually. The Kona is 18 weeks. The Jaguar I-Pace, 20-week wait. The Kia e-Niro, it's still half a year, but it's 26 weeks. The Soul EV, by the way, underrated car, massively underrated, because it's got the Big Daddy battery, the 64 kilowatt hour battery, but funky styling, right? It's definitely not for everyone. But you can have a Soul EV in 8 weeks. The Leaf, that depends between 2 and 12 weeks on your spec. The Peugeot E208 between 1 and 16 weeks. The E2008 up to 12 weeks. The Taycan, as I mentioned, 36. Tesla, at the minute, are all showing about between 3 and 4 months. If it's come down, correct me. Last time I looked on Tesla UK, it was up to 15 weeks. I'm sure that if, because they don't build to order, common misconception, they don't build Teslas to order. So if you do go for a spec that is on a ship heading, I don't know how many ships are currently in the water heading to Europe, but if you happen to pick one that is on its way or even has docked and no one else has got dibs on that, well, you can get it quicker. By the way, the quickest, they got plenty. Do you want one? What do you reckon? You only have to wait 1 week for the MG. The MG ZS EV. They've made plenty, and I think they're in stock, and it's about a 1 week wait on average. Tempting. Huh? Have a look at What Car for the full list. Okay, let's get on to question of the week this week, and it was really interesting. I was asking you with... May I slurp, by the way? This is tea. This is nothing more exciting than tea. Keeps me lubed. The throat. It keeps the throat from drying out. Last week it was a beer, but this week it's tea on a Sunday night. I was asking you question of the week this week about what state you're leaving your car in, because I said, I've left the Zoe at 100%, and then I got in trouble because you're not meant to do that. However, a range of opinions coming in, and I asked you what state you're leaving your EV in. Well, poor Carnell says, I'm still working, and so I charge it to 100%, but I got a long weekend off, and I'm leaving it at 80% when I don't drive the car. In the past, I've had the Leaf plugged in at 100% for 3 or 4 days, he says. Holidays, when I've flown from the airport 30 miles away, I left it at 60 to 70%. He doesn't feel it matters in the short term, like a long weekend or even a week. If it was a couple of weeks, he says, I leave it at 80%. His experience of driving for 3 years in an EV. His opinion. Hello to Ebe. Would that be Ebe? Regarding your question of the week, my Nissan Leaf is connected up to my vehicle-to-grid charger. I have set it to a maximum charge of 95%, maximum discharge of 25%. It tends to do one full cycle in a 24-hour period. I've been on the OVO V2G trial in the UK since last summer and have seen no significant battery degradation in that time. The current lockdown means the car spends more time connected to the V2G charger and goes some small way to help smooth out demand peaks. The best part is that I have a basically free electricity supply for my home since the trial began. I'm really interested in the OVO trial. I recently moved to Octopus for Agile, and that changes every half an hour. The pricing does. Not for everyone. I'm making a video about that if you're interested in my experience. It hasn't been without bumps. I'm largely very happy. Couple of things that I'll just mention might be my own personal experience, and I do still have an email. It's funny. The Octopus website says average response time 4 hours. I have one that's about a week outstanding about some missing data in my dashboard, but it's not life and death. But I'll make a little video about my experience with Octopus. But the OVO trial looks really good. It's an energy company here that are doing a trial of vehicle to grid. If you've got a Nissan, I think even maybe just the Leaf, I think, correct me, it's a way of them collecting data and also people getting their head around vehicle to grid. It's super cool. But again, Chatamo plug for bidirectional. Chris says, Chris Avram, car models may have special needs when they're laid up. The Chevy Volt/Holden Volt/Ampera will only maintain the 12-volt battery if it is running, as it were, or it's plugged in. It can't choose the state of charge, so Chris just leaves it at 100%, which is, because of the top buffer, 85% real. The dashboard says 100, but it's not really 100. And then he runs it for 10 minutes on gas every month. Hello to Fabian Bonacera. We keep our Leaf at 80%. It's now 7 years old, and we're not sure if we should keep it plugged in all the time or not. We drive it for 1 or 2 days a week on small trips. We could charge one night every week if that's better for battery. Victor Wood says, I've parked up my Ioniq at 75% charge, as that's what it was when I left it. Once every couple of weeks, I go to the garage and charge it and change its parked position, leave the car on for 15 minutes to recharge the 12 volts. Hello to Ken's. Ken says if the car is parked for a long time, I leave it around 60%. Bill B says our Audi E-Tron. Oh man, you've got a nice car, Bill. Our Audi E-Tron is sitting at 79 miles in the garage in Florida, USA. Not going to be going anywhere for a while because the groceries are being delivered. Hi to Pete. Well, Pete Glass says, Peter Glass, the BMW i3 manual is very clear, he says. If you are leaving the car for over 3 months, then it should be plugged in. It has so little vampire drain that as long as it's on a reasonably high charge, there's nothing to worry about. There is no facility to set a charging limit in the i3, like in a Tesla and a Kona, so you manually have to unplug it if you want to stop it short of 100%. One important thing, the i3 does the battery management system, the BMS, does a thing called passive cell balancing, and that tends to be done best at 100%. It does happen when it's at a very high state of charge, less than 100%, but what that number is, I think is unclear. But it has to be like almost at 100%. So having the car idle is an opportunity for cell balancing. The manual is equally clear about not leaving the car in a low state of charge. What is low? Well, it doesn't the i3 won't let you turn on the heaters if it is less than 12% on and you are at a rapid charger and you are charging. So clearly the BMS gets a bit fussy down low. He says, I drove back from Poole in 2017 with 6 or 7% left and didn't charge it back up for over a day, and I'm sure the car emailed me to say it was unhappy. Most EVs need to be concerned about their 12-volt batteries. It's worth waking up the car, switching it on for 20 minutes to let the DC to DC converter do its work, especially if they are a few years old. The i3 manual on the 3-month layup is probably thinking about this issue as well. Thank you, Peter. Yeah, actually, I had a really good conversation with the BMW i3 gang, and there's one person who, on the forums, has written the book on the i3. Literally, he's written too. I didn't chat to him. I did chat to people who are really helpful. Some people were like, the i3 has to be at 100% because the manual says so, and so I tried to kind of interrogate them a little bit and say, well, actually, and they sent me the screenshot of the manual, and it's not clear. It doesn't, well, the manual doesn't say you must leave it at 100% because that's what's best for the battery. It just says if you're leaving the car parked for a long time, leave it in a high state of charge, and if it's an extended layup, leave it plugged in at 100%. And again, is that because of the 12 volt? I don't know. Is that because of the high voltage battery and the traction battery? Is that because of the cell balancing thing? And again, I was trying to push politely and say to people, I'm not arguing with the fact that the BMW likes to be at 100%. I mean, that's what the manual says. But why does the manual say that? So I got hold of a buddy of mine who I do a podcast with called Tom Malogney. Again, he is just the authority on this. And I quizzed him and was like, look, I'm having a chat with some forum people here, and like they're quite insistent, but I'm not getting the reason. And he was like, yeah, and he agrees. It's just not clear. The manual is clear, leave it at 100%, but it's not clear why. And so, again, the one person who could probably tell me, either BMW or someone who's written books on these things, I haven't got hold of. But that's an interesting one, because battery chemists will tell you, don't leave them, if you can, don't leave lithium-ion batteries at 100% for extended periods of time. Don't leave them equally empty, not very high and not very low. So that was an interesting one. Got hold of Kia's press office, and Kia say for their cars, if you are leaving them parked up for coronavirus, 100%. Leave them at 100%. And again, I couldn't interrogate that. So is that because it's best for the battery, or just because you don't want people treating them like, petrol and diesel cars, that you leave them with 10% fuel in, you come back and there's going to be the same amount of fuel left in there. Don't argue about the tiny amount. However, with EVs, of course, that's dangerous to leave them very, very low for a long period of time. So that was an interesting conversation, this week, and, certainly learned a lot, but still have some questions unanswered. And so that's one that I'll certainly follow up and learn more about. Hi to Rajiv Narayan. I'm a physician, so driving 80 miles a day or more. In the past, when I leave my EV for a week or so, I leave it at 50%, under the assumption the battery dislikes extreme states of charge. Yep, Rajiv, you're absolutely right in terms of the chemistry of the batteries. Then you have to layer on top of that all sorts of other things, like some cars have buffers that you can't get to, and battery management systems. It's a really interesting topic. I've kind of tried to, with an open mind, listen to everyone this week. There are keyboard warriors on the internet who think that they're, doctors in physics, but largely people have been super interesting this week. Thank you. I've learned a lot. Right, brand new question of the week. Here we go. This is merely a pause button that we've pressed, and when this lockdown and stay at home is over and the world returns to normal, how can the EV industry get people driving EVs as quick as possible? When this is all over, and it should be soon, fingers crossed, how can the EV industry, so the car makers and everyone around it, get as many people driving EVs as quick as possible and to get back to normal? And I'd love to hear from you. My email address is hello@evnewsdaily.com. And if you want to, leave a comment on the YouTube show. Well, thank you to 237 patrons of the podcast. Patreon is a website that you can support creators and the work we do and the mission that we're on to tell people all about EVs and to get more people driving EVs. And if this is part of your research before you buy one and you dive in, I really hope this podcast is useful to you. I mean, so I know I learn a lot, but I always kind of think I'm a bit of an EV nerd with this stuff. But if you pick up things from the podcast, by the way, Patreon, there's absolutely no reason that you have to do it. Check out Patreon, patreon.com/EVNewsDaily. Entirely optional. If you want to go and have a look at that, by all means, please do check it out. Like $5, $10 a month. I mean, more if you want. It's like a couple of posh coffees that you're not buying on your way to work because we're all staying at home. Thank you to my premium partners, Phil Roberts of Electric Future, Brad Crosby, Avid Technology, Brightsmith Group for clean tech talent, Porsche of the Village, Cincinnati, and Audi of Cincinnati East. Hello to my partners. Hello, David Allen. If you want your accessories, check out OEM Audio of New Zealand and evpower.co.nz. Hello to Paul O'Connor. Here in the UK, there's tryev.com. They are getting people into EVs and will be when this is all over. Gareth Hamer. Thank you, Gareth. Hello to eMobility Norway. Check them out, eMobilityNorway.com. Bob Boothby. Thank you, Bob. Hello to ev-resource.com and Mia Oppelstrup. and all of the exec producers: Alan Robson, Alan Shed, Alex Banahini, Alexander Frank, Anders Hove, Andrea Jefferson, Asir Khalid, Ashley Hill, Biard Fuchstack, Brent Kingsford, Brian Thompson, Bruce Bohannon, Charles Hall, Chris Hopkins, Colin Hennessy and Cams EV, Craig Coles, Craig Rogers, Damien Davis, Darren Bird, Darren Feach, Darren Santon, Yorkshire EVs, Dave Jewson, David Barkman, David Finch, David Partington, David Prescott, Derek Riley and Dublin EV owners, and Don McAllister at screencastsonline.com. Enrico Stefan Shillo, Eru Kyun Nyombi, Frederick Rovick, Free Jewel, Who's James, Gene Rubin, Gilberto Rosado, Jeff Lowe, Headley Wright, Ian Griffiths, Ian Sear, Jack Oakley and James Storr, Jerry Allison, Jim Duggan, Jim Morris, John Bailey, John C. Solar, John Lacey and Click Clack Video NZ, John, Biddy McBeardface and Kent EVs, John Liddell, Juan Gonzalez, Ken Morris, Kevin Mayerson, Carl Mann, Lars Daliger, Lawrence D. Allen, Lee Brown, Luke Cully, Marcel Lohman, Marcel Ward, Mark Bossett, Marlin Shell, Martin Croft, Dorset Tradesman. Hello to Matt Piccioni, Maz Shah, Michael and Luke Torrell, Michael Pastroni, Michael Cuffin, Mike Rogers, Mike Winter, Nathan Gore Brown, Neil Lee Roberts from Sussex EVs, Nigel Miles, Northern Explorers, Ohad Aston, Paul Ridings, Paul Stevenson, Perry Simpkins, Pete Glass, Pete Gorton, Peter and D. Roberts from Oxen EVs, Phil Mouchet, Pontus Kinblad, Raj Badwell, Rajiv Narayan, Ralph Jensen, Rene Schneider, Rob Cooling and appledriving.co.uk, Rob Hermans, Robert Grace, Robin Tanner, Rupert Mitchell, Sari Kangasoja, Seiki Payne, Stephen Penn, Steve John, Thomas J. Tias, The Plug Seeker and his EV YouTube channel, Tim Gutteridge and William Langhorne. There are 745 shows in the archive. Check out any of them on my blog, evnewsdaily.com. Have a wonderful day. Catch you tomorrow. And remember, there is no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.